Yes, yes. Okay. Hello, everybody, guys. This is Eugene. We're going to start our training in 5 minutes. Okay. Hello, everybody, guys. Let me welcome you on the second day of the OroCommerce training. Today, our plan for today is to check themes and layouts. Let me share my screen. Yeah, so before we will start, let me remind you that yesterday we have checked the storefront and website topics where we have seen how to work with the website, especially if you have enterprise version application with the multiple websites, how to organize your storefront, what is the prefix on the URL, what is the difference between the storefront management console, and some other topics. And then we have checked the customer entities topic, where we have seen what's the difference between customer and customer users, what are customer user roles, how they're organized together, and how they can be used to restrict access to the specific parts of the storefront. Today, our topics for today is the layout and themes. In scope of this topic, we're going to see what are themes in OroCommerce, how they can be used to customize visual and functional features of the application, and what is layout engine and how to use layout engine to render your blocks or even form a completely new structure for every page. So if there are no questions at the moment, let us start our today's topic. So themes and layouts. We're going to start from themes, and before we will do that, so we need to understand what is theme in OroCommerce and how it is affects the visual representation of our application. So theme basically is just a skin that you can use on the application storefront, and you can switch between skins depending on some kind of configuration. And everything you're seeing on the storefront is in fact a part of the theme which is used to render the page. Theme may include styles like CSS or CSS, may include JS, and we can see it later. Theme may also affect some functional features we are adding or removing some block using the layouts. Theme may override page parts, so this is the part where we are going to check during the layout in the layout topic. And theme may have a parent theme. So again, we have here inheritance. OroCommerce provides several default themes, and it's recommended to just use one of these themes as a parent theme to not implement everything from scratch, because time is expensive and it's better to use what we have out of the box instead of writing everything from scratch. Theme can be defined both at the global and website configuration. We have seen yesterday already, but we can check it today one more time. And one more thing to avoid misunderstanding. So in OroCommerce, there is a configuration section called Oro theme. And this configuration section is used to define the backend theme, management console theme, while the theme used on the storefront defined under the Oro layout sections. We're going to see the sections several times today, but in general, if you will see the Oro theme and config.yml file, please remember this is a management consoles or backend theme. Now let us have a look at the website configuration and see how to set a theme from the UI. Let me open the application. Today I will use application in dev mode, mostly because I will need to show it how themes works and how layout works. But it works exactly the same both in the production environment, in dev environment. So let me log in. And theme can be set at the global configuration. So if you're using community edition of OroCommerce, this is the only place where you can set your theme. Here you see the default theme option. And you may also customize the theme on the website level. For example, let me open European website. Find the theme section here, and as you can see here, we're using custom theme. Just let me remind you that the European theme looks a little bit different from the default. European site looks a little bit different from the default site. So here we have a default site from the OroCommerce EE local domain name. And if I will put here European Union subdomain, we can see the different websites. As you can see, it looks very different. So here we have menu on the left side. Here we have a header with a blue background. Here we have different font all over the page. So all these changes are part of the custom theme. And if I will change it to the default theme back, it will be changed on the storefront too. But for now, for the this training, I will keep it here just to show you a difference between these two themes. Theme can be set from the UI, and so this is the most obvious configuration how you can do it. And theme also can be set in the config YAML file under the Oro layout active theme. So this is the lowest level. Theme has to be defined in the theme YAML file. So this is basically the place to create your own theme and use it. And you can also use theme manager and Oro layout extension files in order to understand how themes are set and how themes are managed. Let us have a look at these files. So first, let's check the theme manager. So as you can see here, we have a theme manager, which has instances of themes which can be used. We have here theme factory, which is basically used as a factory to create themes. And we have theme definition back, which is pretty much just a configuration for the required theme. So for example, here we can see that the get theme method, which can return you a theme object, which just captures all information about the theme. And here we are checking that this theme is defined or not. And if it's not defined yet, we are asking theme factory to create an instance and passing configuration from our definition from our definition back, but definition is just a configuration in our case. And then we can mark additional information which may be used there too. The second file, the Oro layout extension, is used to set theme. And here we can see active theme is set in the dependency injection configuration parameter called Oro layout.default active theme. And if you're using a dependency injection container and you need the active theme, you can either use this parameter or get it directly from the system configuration. Pay attention that here we will have the parameter which is set in the Oro config YAML. So this is the lowest parameter. While in fact, different websites may have different configuration, and in these websites, you may have totally different values. So if you're not sure, or if you're using enterprise version and you have multiple websites, it's better to get the theme from the system configuration just to be sure that it will be the current theme version for the current website. Then we have the theme definition. So theme definition, we have seen it's already in the theme manager. Theme definition is just an array with the configuration options for the theme. And as I have already mentioned before, the theme may have a parent theme. So we can have a hierarchy here. And let us have a look how it looks like. So first here we have a quick start for creating a theme. And talking about the theme, you have to know that theme is created under this path, and the main file which is used to create a theme called theme YAML, which has to be stored under resources, views, layouts, then your theme name. In our case, it's the first theme, and then the file has to be called theme YAML. Then we have label, we have parent, because most of the themes are inherited from other themes, and here we inherit from default theme, and groups commerce. Groups commerce is needed to identify theme as a storefront theme, so it can be used in the storefront. So this I have mentioned, this is the way how you can activate your theme or rather mark it as a default theme. But again, we can use it with the system configuration too. And here we have additional options which tell us how to add assets. For example, here we have logo and colors assets. And talking about layout updates, we're going to see on a little bit later. And here is the configuration for the custom theme. So let me remind you, the custom theme is the theme we have currently on our European website. And this is it. So we have parent theme default, we have label custom theme, we have custom theme description. Description is used just to provide additional information about what your theme is used for. And groups is used to tell that this is in fact a storefront theme, not just some kind of abstract theme. So application will know it has to be used on the storefront only. So OroCommerce out of the box provides 3 different themes: blank, default, and custom. Let's check them one by one. So blank theme is defined in the UI bundle, and blank theme is, how you can guess from the name, is very, very basic and very, very standard theme without any UI features, without visual representation, without some kind of nice styling. It's just blank. Not blank, it's just empty page with the minimum amount of features and the minimum amount of code written in order to make OroCommerce application works. Let us check how it looks like. So I'm going to set it for the default website. In order to do that, I have to go to the management console. And set it on the website level. I might set it on globally, but in our case, I'm going to set it only for the default level, only for the default website. So here I'm going to switch to the blank theme, save it. And now, if I will click F5 and refresh the page, you can see that structure is changed significantly. So here we can see a total different menu. We can see total different representation of the product listing. We see totally different styling, but still all the features are still usable. You can still see the menu here. You can still see menu on top. You can still see the links to sign in and register. They just look very, very simple. And this is a great place where you as a developer can start on creating your custom theme create custom theme using the default theme as a template. Next theme is the default theme, and this is the theme we have already seen. Let me switch to the default theme. Yep. So this is the default theme, the standard yellow, gray, and blue theme, which you can use for the demo purposes, which you can use on the early stage of your application, and which you can use, for example, if you are pretty happy with it and you need to customize only logo. In this case, you can still use the theme. And the custom theme, the final theme, is here it is. It's defined in the custom theme bundle. So this is that nice blue theme we have seen for in the European website. Let me open it again. Yeah, so this is a custom theme. We will talk a little bit about custom theme a little bit later when we're going to check what kind of features we have out of the box to work with the themes. So how to set a theme? So the first and the most obvious way is via the config.yml file. We have seen it already in the documentation, but just in case, you can always go to the config.yml file and find here Oro layout section. I think we don't have it in this specific place, so we have it somewhere in the Oro layout bundle, but you as the developer may put, or they should even put it here in this file. Then you can set theme via the system configuration. We have done this several times. It can be done for the global level or the website level. And finally, the most convenient way for the people who are customizing application a lot is the config manager. So you can create an installation fixture, and every time your application is installed or deployed, for example, on the continuous integration server, the correct theme will be already set using the installation fixture. So installation fixture pretty much doing the same thing as we have just done using the user interface. It gets appropriate system configuration sections and set proper value. And that's it. If you need to find the option, the system configuration option, you may go to the first to the layout, to the theme configuration here. You may check the name of the field. This one is called Oro front-end theme, and that's basically will be the name of your option. If you're curious, you may always find configuration for this option in the front-end bundle. Let me show it to you. So here we have our front-end bundle. Here we have system configuration sections, and here we have this front-end theme option. So this is the option responsible for the theme, either globally or on the website level. And if you want to set it via the installation fixture, you have to use this key to set your theme. Theme is basically just a name we have defined in the theme configuration. So this was the all information we have about the theme. So as you can see, themes are pretty simple. So and you may think about the theme as a container for the layout updates, and this is where we're going to the layouts. So what are layouts and why do we need them? So layout is technically a view layer of the MVC, of the model view controller pattern, and it's used to represent the visual part of the application. In our case, it's simply renders HTML, and it uses it using the tree structure of blocks. So you may think about the HTML as a block. So you may have a tag for each block, and this is what we are trying to do here in Oro with the small difference. We are not creating a block for each tag, but we are allowing to put multiple tags in the same block and use it there. So here we have the basic structure for the layout tree. And here we see the root block, we see the head block, we see the title, meta chart set, icon, styles blocks. We have the body with the wrapper and page container. We have additional layout.js and so on. So this is the pretty standard, pretty simple structure which is used on every page. And later, when we are going to debug the structure, we will be able to see how it looks like in the application. Layout contains of blocks. So each of blocks we have seen here may have multiple options. If you can check it here, you will see that they have, in fact, block type, they have block options. Again, we're going to check different types of blocks and different types of options a little bit later. For now, you just need to know that each block may have a name, type, and the options. So this is the name, title, this is the block, this is a block type, for example, container, and these are the options of this block. This is everything that application needs in order to render it properly. In the end, every block will be converted to the piece of the HTML, and this is the HTML you're receiving on the storefront as a response from the web server. You may perform multiple operations with the layout blocks. You may add them, you may move them, you may remove them, you may set options, you may remove options, and that's it. And just in case, here's a reference to the layouts. We're going to check it again, but just in case, you will always have the link here in the slides. So how does it work? So a layout, as we have already seen, is a tree. A tree contains of multiple blocks. So this is the visual representation of a very simple tree. We have a root block, which is pretty much the container. So everything here is a root. Root is split into the three smaller blocks: header, body, and footer. Header, body, and footer. And the body split on the two other blocks called sidebar and the main content. So I think you got the idea. You have a tree, and tree represents the blocks you have on your page. And every block is just a piece of HTML which will be rendered on your page. Now let's have a look how it's organized on the code level. So directory structure for the layout is following. it's stored in the directory called resources use layout theme. And here, the place where we see the connection between the theme and layouts and layout blocks and layout updates. Every time you are changing something at the storefront, you are changing it in scope of the specific theme. In other words, you cannot have a layout block or layout update or layout structure without a theme. It's always connected to the some theme. Yes, it may be connected to the blank theme. So it means that every child which uses blank theme, every child theme which uses blank theme as a parent will have this layout block or layout update too, but it still have to be assigned to some theme. So here we have the configuration. This one is for JavaScript. So here is how you can assign JavaScript configuration for the specific theme. Yeah, for example, we're using the base theme. In order to do that, you have to create the config structure. And by the way, this is the same directory where we can put our assets configuration too. You may have imports. Imports allows you to reuse the same block several times or same structure several times. So for example, you're rendering a grid and you want to render each row exactly the same way. In this case, you can simply reuse it and import the same piece of the tree several times. Then we have the page directory. Page directory is used for the layout updates, which has to be applied for every page. So for example, if you need to add a header or footer, and you obviously want to have a header and footer on every page, then you have to put your layout updates to the page directory. And finally, we have a specific directory for route name. So it means that these layouts updates will be added only for the specific route, only for the page which represents this route, the Symfony route in Oro. Let's have a look at the example here. I'm going to use custom theme bundle a lot, mostly because it is a special theme added as an example of how theme can be customized. So if you're not sure how to customize the theme, you may always start from custom theme bundle and look at it as an example. This bundle contains quite a lot of different configuration and customizations which you can do on the storefront, and you can find examples of pretty much all the features in this bundle too. So let's start from the theme YAML file. We have seen this one already, so it's a definition for our custom theme. And pay attention that everything is stored in the custom directory. So it means that here we're working with the theme with code custom. Then we have configuration. And here we see two configuration files we have seen already. The first one, the assets. So in our case, it's the SCSS files mostly, which will be dumped later into this file. And we have JS modules. So this is a custom JS module specific only for this theme, which will be used when this theme is enabled. Pay attention that there may be other modules defined in the parent theme or parent themes, which in the very end will be merged to the final file too. Then we have import section. So import section allows you to define several combinations or several groups of the layout updates in order to apply them several times on the same page. For now, we need only the names. For example, here we have the customer menu, which can be imported in different places. We have the product grid, it can be imported in different places, and so on. And then we have the page directory. So page directory includes layout updates for the which have to be applied for every possible page. For example, here we have configuration for the custom menu, and here we have appropriate template for it. Then we have the appropriate route, which is as you can see, can be used here and there too. For example, here we have a configuration for the shopping list front-end view page. So it's just a view page of the shopping list. And as you can see, this custom theme adds some change to this page in order, for example, to add additional information about the shopping list. So this is the main structure of the theme. You will work a lot with the structure. So please remember that you have the imports. It's reusable blocks or reusable parts of the tree. Page, this is the layout updates which can be applied to every page, and you have routes which can be basically the same layout updates, but they will be applied only to the specific page defined by the route name. So this directory is a route name. Application will go through all the bundles and try to find layout updates based on the current route name of the current page. Now let's have a look at the layout updates and layout actions. So there are multiple actions you can perform with the blocks, and we have already checked, we have already seen one or two, and now we're going to see all the possible actions we can do with the layout blocks. So here we have all the actions we can do. We can add a block. So it means they will add a new block to the structure. We can add a tree. Means they will add a specific tree to the structure. It means that they will add multiple blocks simultaneously. We can remove the block, we can move the block, we can add alias to the block in order to, for example, maintain backward compatibility. We can remove alias. We can work with the options, set, append, subtract, replace, or remove option. We can change block type. So just in case, you may work not only with the options of a block, but also with a block type. You may set the block theme. So pay attention, this is not the application theme. This is a block theme used to render appropriate blocks. And finally, we can clear the state of the layout structure. It means that you will be able to build it completely from scratch. Not very commonly used, but in some cases, it might be the best solution. Let's have a look at the examples. So here we have a very simple example of how to add a block. So here we are adding option with the block ID, parent block ID and block type. We can move it, we can remove it, and so on. Let's return to our test or custom theme and see what kind of actions we may find in the blocks. So the actions are grouped in the YAML files, and all these actions we have seen are called layout updates because they are technically updating the layouts, and they stored in the appropriate YAML files. So by default, application will simply go through all the YAML files in the appropriate directory and simply load all of them. So for example, here we have a file called main menu YAML responsible for the basically main menu for the custom theme. And here the first action we can see is the set block theme. It's very similar to the form themes we have in Symfony. Technically, it means that application is going to use this file as a source of the block templates for all blocks defined in this file. So for example, if you want to customize the menu blocks, or if you want to change the visual representation of some block, you have to put appropriate information to this file, and we can see it a little bit later. And here are the other actions. So for example, here we are moving block web catalog menu to the block parent ID. We can move block categories menu, main menu to the sidebar product categories list. We can remove block web category menu list. We can remove block main menu container, and so on. And talking about that theme file, HTML Twig file, here we can simply overriding the block. So pay attention, this is a standard Twig file without any special definitions or tags. And here we're simply overriding a block called notification. Widget is just a suffix added to the blocks in order to understand this is a widget for the block. And we are changing the options which were passed and rendering the parent block. So it's some kind of small wrapper at the top of the notification block here. Yeah, as we have already discussed, layout updates is the actions which should be performed with the layout in order to customize the page. They can update layout tree structure, they can update block options, they can import other layout updates, and we are going to talk about it a little bit later. But for now, here is other examples. For example, this is the place where adding new arrivals at the home page. Let us have a look at the home page. Yeah, so this is our home page, and that block we have just seen is responsible for adding the new arrivals to that page. So here we can see we are importing some block. For now, let's keep this section. Here we are adding new block called new arrivals product container. We are setting certain options for the block called new arrival products. We are passing some options. For example, here we have option name, option value, appending options, setting options, setting options. So here we are just altering the existing tree structure of our layout in order to perform some customizations or some adjustments. In our case, we are adding new block called new arrivals here. Talking about layout block types. So we have seen already one or two, like block or container, but there are many. In general, layout blocks are very similar to the Symfony form types. So in Symfony, you have form types, in Oro, you have block types. In Symfony, you have form widgets. In Oro, we have block widgets, and so on and so on. And even if you see the configuration, you'll see it's very, very similar to the way Symfony works with form. Block type defines a type of a content. Pay attention, not the content, but type of a content. For example, you may create block for prices and then render it in different places with different prices. So technically, it's a type of a content or type of a block type. That's why it's called block type, but not the block itself. Block type may have options, and you as a developer can specify what kind of options each block expects, and it in fact even can be added without a class. Yes, it's possible to do it without class, but it's not a requirement. Let's have a look at how to add your blocks and how to specify the options you may have inside. So this is the couple of the standard blocks we have in Oro. This one is from the product bundle. And these are just a Symfony services which has to be loaded to the Symfony dependency injection container. We have a parent service called Oro layout block type extract configurable. And this service is used in order to create new block using the standard template and standard class without writing any PHP code. So what do we have here? Here we have set options config, which is a method used to understand the configuration for the specific block. For example, here we have option called collection, which is required. Name of the block type, quick add validation container, and the parent, because blocks also have inheritance, like form types, block types also can be inherited from other block types, and they automatically inherit all the options. And if we will scroll down, we will see a little bit more such blocks. For example, here we have product view container block, which has several options. It has parent plot, product, and product theme, and so on and so on. So by doing that, by creating such definition, we are defining a new block type with the appropriate name and appropriate options. And later, this block type can be used in the layout update in order to get options and pass them to the appropriate block in order to render a piece of the HTML. Let's, for example, have a look at one of the blocks. For example, let's check quick order. For example, here we have quick add form directions, and let's check where it is used. I'm going to search through all the Oro directory, simply because I don't remember exact place. We need the YAML file. Okay, pick some other block. Product sticker, I think. Yep. So here we have several mentions of the product sticker, but in our case, we're needing to find a block type product sticker. And here we have a good example of such block. So here we have definition of the block, which is block type, and it has three options: mod, stickers, and visible. And if we return to the configuration, we'll see here that these are the options. So we have the option called mod with default value icon. We have an option position with default value top right, and we have default option stickers with the empty array. And here we are overriding values of these options. So we can application can if you will skip this option, application will default value. If you will put it here, this value will override the default value. Now layout context. Layout context is the first of the two containers which used to pass a data to the layout. So layout context contains all the configuration options for the layout, and it's shared between different components of the layout. Pay attention that layout context contains configuration options, but not the real data. What's the difference? The difference is following. So configuration options are some options which defining the structure. For example, you have configuration option which defines whether you want to render a menu on the left or on the top. This is a configuration option. Or for example, you may have a configuration option which defines whether you want to show advertising on some specific page or not. Again, this is a configuration block. But for example, if you want to pass specific advertising there, or you want to pass the content of the menus, so exact menu items there, this will be not a layout context, this will be an actual data, and does not contain data means it means that it must not contain actual data which has to be rendered. You may think about it in a different way. If something should affect the structure of the blocks, it has to be a part of the layout context. If something has to be contained only the way it's rendered, only the data, it's not a part of the layout context, it's part of the data. You may work with the context directly there. So here we have a way to do it via the conditions or via the expressions like that. Context is mobile, and for example, you may use it in the conditions, you may use it in the options, and you may just get this value and pass it as one of the options. So we have seen this one already. So here we have the data, but in fact, you may pass the context. And for example, here we have a great example. Here we have a product theme, which receives its value from the context variable called page template. You may also parse a context from the appropriate controller. So if you have a controller and you want its controller to pass some context value to the application, it has to be defined under the add layout annotation on the appropriate action. So this add layout annotation is something new. This is an invention of Oro, and it's basically replaces add template at the standard Symfony. So because we are not using the standard default, let's say, Twig templating engine at the storefront that we are wrapping up to the layout tree structure, we are also added a special add layout annotation in order to tell application it must not use standard structure, it must use a layout structure. Let's have a look how to do it. Here we have the customer user address controller, and here we have the index action. And as you can see, we have several context variables which we want to pass to the page. Now, here it's the index page for customer users. So here we have the entity class, we have customer address count, and we have customer user address count. And these options are used to identify how to render a list of the addresses, either as a nice list with the map on the right, if you have less than, as I remember, 3 addresses, or you want to use as a plain grid if you have more than 3 addresses, because it's more convenient to do it like that. And finally, in order to pass values for these options, you have to return them in the array. So this is a way how we are passing these values. For example, here we have address provider, get customer user addresses, and simply count from these values. By doing that, these values will be passed to the layout context, and then this layout context can be used, can be passed to options, can be used in the layout updates, can be used in the appropriate blocks, and so on. And there is a second way to do it. So as you have seen, we did it on the one controller, but imagine that you need to have some kind of options which can be used or have to be available all over the application. For example, whether a current user is logged in or not logged in, or for example, whether we're using some kind of different type of a catalog. To do that, we are using a thing called context configurator. So context configurator is a special class, a special interface and special class which is used to identify configuration. So let me show you a couple of examples. So here we have context configurator interface, which in fact receives context interface as an argument. And here we have many and many actual configurators. And talking about whether we are logged in or not, here we have very simple is logged in context configurator, which adds a new option called is logged in. So here we can see this option name here. Here we can see the value. This token accessor has user, so it's a Boolean flag, true or false. And here we may also define the format for this option in order to not allow pass invalid values. So this one is required, and this one can be only Boolean. Here we're using standard Symfony resolver. So if you want, you can always go check the Symfony resolver component in order to see how it works. Long story short, it simply allows you to set the configuration structure for some component. In our case, we're using this configuration structure for the layout contexts. And if you want to debug the application, you can always use command line. We have OroDebug layout command, which allows you to find appropriate block type, appropriate options, and so on. Let's see how it works. So here we are. We put first some comment. So by default, it simply renders list of all possible block types and data providers. We also can see here the standard context value, and we can see a list of all the configurators we have out of the box. We have just seen it in the PHP store, but just in case, you can do it here. And you may also request additional information. There are several options in this command. For example, we can check configuration per layout block type. We can change the format and so on. And as we have already seen what are block types, let's try to get some information about the block type. So let me pick that block type we have seen previously. Yeah, this is it. Here, for example, we have product sticker block type, and we can check this information here. So here we can see all the options we set, we can use for this block type. First, we can see the block type class. Pay attention to the standard layout block because we use standard configurable block type. Here we have the inheritance. So we can see that product sticker block is inherited from the just block. And here we can see all the options. Pay attention that there are some options which were not defined in YAML file during the definition. All other options, which are not these three, were inherited from the parent block from this block. So options called mode, position, and stickers are defined in the configuration for this specific block. All the other options are inherited from the parent block from this one. Let us continue. So here we have checked the first data container or first container with the information which we can use in the layout structure. And the second one is layout data. So layout data is an actual data which you want to render. Actual products, menu items, shopping lists, and so on and so on. So this is additional data which does not affect a layout structure. It's affect only the content inside the blocks. There are several ways to get the product data or to pass the product data to the layout structure. So the first way is using the controller. We have seen this one shortly already, but let me show it again. Here, this is the same action we have seen previously in the controller. We have a special option called data. And everything passed as a data will be available inside the layout, and you can use it and pass it to the layout options. So let me return to the configuration for some block. For example, here it is. Here we have a block name called new arrival, and we are setting options called item and passing the data. So here we have the data, we have the key inside this data, and we have some kind of methods because it's data provider. But in general, it's not required. You may pass only the data here. For example, in this specific case, we open it again. So here we have the entity. We may open this bundle and see how this entity is used there. Let us do it. So this is the controller. The one from the front end, of course. So here we can see all the structure one more time. And now we need to find where and how this option is used. And the most commonly it's used inside the appropriate route directory. So now we need to go and find that place. Resources, views, layouts, theme. Most commonly it's either blank or the default. Let's check the default. And we can find here our action, the one called OroCustomer frontend customer user address index. Customer user address index, here it is. And here we have layout update. Unfortunately, in this case, we don't have to add direct reference. It means it's used in one of the imports here. But one way or the other, you may use it in this place and use it as any other options. Let me check some other containers just to be sure and show you a good example of data usage. Yeah, for example, here we have it. This one is for the role, but no difference. Here, the way how we can pass this data to the option of the specific block. Equals data, entity. That is it. And there is a second way how you can pass the data via the data provider. So the problem with the way passing data from the controller is the same as with the context. There are some pages which may require information every time you want to render the page. Again, it's a header, it's footer, some kind of list of the shopping lists, and so on and so on. And to do that, we have to use a thing called data providers. So again, like the controllers, they're providing actual data, not the context data, but they always have to have a methods to get this data. And it has to begin obviously with get, has, or is, because data providers must not change state of the application. Data providers is just a service in the Symfony dependency injection container, which is used to tell application first the name of data provider or alias. Here we have the alias XXX, and then this data provider can be accessed in the layout updates using this alias. Let's have a look at a couple of examples. So first we have our provider class is just a PHP class without any interface, but with a couple of the methods in order to pass value to the layout update. Here, for example, we have eSingle unit mode code visible, and get default unit code. So these are just public methods which returns some values. They may have arguments or may not have arguments, no big difference here. Then we have registered it in the services CML file. It's just a dependency injection container service. Here we can see the definition, we have the class, we have the arguments, and finally we have our tag called layout data provider with the alias called or product single unit mode. It means that in the layout update now we can use data or product single unit mode dot method name. So we can call some method using the standard Symfony expression syntax. And this is the example. So here we have data, alias of our layout provider or product single unit mode is single unit mode. So in other words, value from this method or result of this method will be put to the value of option called single unit mode. And as you can see, there are quite a lot of such usages of data providers all over the application. For example, here we have our product form, here we have data fixture, and so on. In general, this is a standard Symfony expression syntax. So you may use dot notation here. You may use several dots if you want to. You may use ternary operators. You can use or here and basically use just all the standard features of Symfony expression language. In case you will forget something, here we have documentation about data providers. And yes, you can always get information about the data providers using the oro debug layout command. Let us check it. So let us pick that layout data provider again. This one, or product single unit mode. And now we can pass not type option, but provider option. And here we can see all the methods which can be used and how to use them in the layout updates. So the name or the alias, the PHP class, which is associated with this layout update, and the list of public methods which can be used in the layout updates. So here we have how to use eSingle unit mode, how to use eSingle unit mode code visible, and how to use get default unit code. What you can do is just copy this value and use it in your layout updates. And we have the layout imports. So layout import is a way to inject the same tree or the same piece of the tree several times to the same page. Like we have discussed, it can be grid rows, it can be the same listing, and so on. The very good example of such multiple imports on the home page of the OroCommerce application. Let me open it. Here we can see featured product listing. Here we can see new arrivals listing, and here we can see top selling items listing. As you can see, they look pretty much identical, but they have different content. And in fact, all these three lists were added using the imports. So we are simply importing the same block several times, and we are able to render it several times with the different options. In our case, we're rendering it with the different content, because we're passing different products in order to render appropriate products in different sections. Let us have a look how layouts work and how layouts are organized. Layout has to have a custom namespace, which is used in order to identify, in order to generate a unique block name, and they also, as any block, have custom options. Let's have a look. So here we have our products list, and this is the name of the import used to render those three lists. Configuration is simple enough. So here we have exactly the same definition structure. We have the actions, we have the options. Just one more thing, we have a special placeholder called double underscore. And this placeholder called double underscore will be replaced with the real block name later when the block will be generated. When we will go to the debugging of the listing page and debugging of the layout structure, we'll see how it works. And pay attention that layout may also import another layout. So here, import can import another block, another import. So imports can be reused several times, and import may use another import. So here we have import called OroProductList uses import called OroProductListItem. And they also have a root. So a root is a block which used as a source of tree which will be embedded or which will be rendered. So in other words, the custom tree or imported tree will be rendered starting from this block. And in most cases, you have to create a block in order to use imports, because the tree has to be imported from some block, or the tree has to be imported into some block in order to be rendered properly. Then we have the actual usage of it. So here we have seen this one already. We have seen already this file before, but just in case, here we have new URL CML. Now this is a file in the Oro frontend root. So this is not an import file any longer. This is an actual layout update, but still we can see here imports. We are adding here block called or we're importing here import with ID or product lists. We are importing it into the container called new arrival products container. Pay attention that it was added here. And we are using namespace new arrival. It means that all the blocks inside this container will be started from the new arrival underscore blah, blah, blah. And this suffix we have already seen, this will be everything replaced where double underscore will be replaced with this namespace. Just in case you forgot, you will need more information about the layout imports or how they work. You can always refer to the OroCommerce documentation and see how it works. You can see here the structure. You can see how to reuse them. You can check what is double underscore and how it's used here. So as you can see, there is a special root parameter, which is basically defines the root of the import and so on. I would propose to have a break here. And before doing that, let me check the list of questions in order to answer them. Okay, so we have at least 2 questions about the slides and video recordings from yesterday. Thank you very much, guys. I will check it after the training, and hopefully they will be sent to you. Then we have a question, can you have as many themes as you want? Are there any limitations? There are no limitations. You may have as many themes as you want, but the name of the theme has to be unique because application has to identify which theme is currently set on each website. And you can reuse the same theme on different websites too. Question, how to manage head, for example, add custom HTML block to head tag, how layout update files and page directory is ordered to apply. So first, if you want to manage head, you have to add appropriate layout update and add appropriate block to the head. We will see it when we go to the debugging of layout updates, because there we'll see all the structure, but in general, it's just like adding a block to another block. Let me show you to you again. So when we have seen example of the block, nope, not this one. We need a default theme. Give me a second, please. Yeah, so here you can see the head block, and what you can do is simply add a new block inside this block, because every time you're adding a block, you're adding it to some existing block as a container. So here the head is a container, and you may add your own block to the head, and will be rendered either before specific block, after specific block, or between the blocks. You can specify this behavior using the options. The next question, how layout update files and page directory is ordered to apply. They have merged, and they merged based on the order of the bundles. So if you want to render, or if you want to add some layout update after existing layout update, you have to make sure that your bundle is loaded after the bundle which adds original layout update, and vice versa. Another question, can the blocks be scheduled to appear or disappear based on certain conditions and time periods? Yes, we have a condition, so you may specify a condition which when they will appear or when they will not appear. We'll check it a little bit later today. In fact, this will be our next slide for about layout conditions. And disappear based on the certain conditions and time period. So for conditions, yes, you can do it. And as for the time periods, it really depends on the use case. Because if your time period is something which changes the layout structure, for example, you want to add a special block for the Black Friday, then yes, you may create a new layout context variable and then use this layout context variable in the condition. Or if it must not change layout structure, you may simply put this if or if else condition inside your Twig template, and you would just use standard Symfony Twig if else if, and so on in order to render appropriate information. Okay, another question, can we add blocks directly in Twig file without adding anything in the config files YAML? No, you have to have at least one config files in order to tell application that this file has to be rendered. So you have to define at least this section. In fact, let me check it. I think there were a couple of such examples. Do we? Okay, but in general, here we have a very similar example. You may just remove this line and put only this code. By doing that, you will tell application that this file has to be loaded and parsed, and then the appropriate templates will be used to render appropriate blocks. Okay, so we have no more questions for now. Let's have a 15-minute break and we'll continue from there. Okay, guys, let us continue. Before we'll start, let me remind you that here is the channel where you can download and see again all the videos from this training, from OroCommerce trainings. And as you can see here, we already have a training from yesterday. And I have posted these links to the Zoom group chat too, so feel free to use it if you want to check it again. As for the slides, I will check it after the training. So let's continue. Let us see layout updates, and let's continue that. Observe the features we have out of the box in layout engine. So the next feature called layout conditions, and we already have a question about it in chat. So there was a question how to show or not show some parts of the layout or layout updates based on the layout conditions. And here we have a way to do it. So layout conditions are defined in the layout update file. So conditions restrict all the layout updates on the same file. Conditions, of course, must be satisfied in order for layout update to be executed. And layout conditions can use only context variable. So this is the restriction that we have there in the separation between the layout context and layout data. And because layout condition may affect the structure of the layout, they can use only layout context variables. And of course, you can use standard expressions like and or in order to combine conditions and make it work. Let's have a look at some examples. Here we have the breadcrumbs on the product view page, and this option, set option breadcrumbs, will be used only if we have a web catalog. In our case, here we have web catalog ID not equals null. Another example, here we have customer address count. So remember that customer address count variable we have passed from the address control from the customer controller. Here's how you can use it. You can use customer address controller in order to render different structures for the different configuration options. And here if we have less or equal than 3 customer addresses, we will execute this layout updates. There is one more trick which you can use if you want to hide some block. There is an option called visible available on all the standard blocks, and you may pass here some expression. For example, here data ACL is granted, so this one will be visible only if we have appropriate permission on the storefront. And if you will pass these options and set this value to false, this block simply will not be rendered. Now, how to use layouts from controller. We have seen this one already, but let me remind you one more time. You have to use special add layout annotation on the in the controller, and there you can pass layout context variables and layout data variables directly from it. So here we have add layout annotation. We are passing variables, so these are context variables. Here we're passing the values with context variables, and finally we are passing the data. So data here is a special key, and you have to pass, you may pass multiple values under this key here. So here we're passing entities. Here we're passing only data. We don't have here any layout context variables, and you may check all of the controls in order to see how it works. Now let's move to the debugging. So this is where the interesting part is started. So there are several ways and several things which you can use in order to debug layouts. There are 4 main entry points or 4 main things which you can use in order to debug. So these are Symfony Developers Toolbar, Symfony Twig Inspector, and Theme Listener and Layout Listener. Let's start from this check as theme and layout listeners. So theme listener is simply responsible for setting the current theme. So remember that configuration option we have seen before, or front-end theme. So here is how it's passed and here is how it's used. So here is where we are extracting it from the config manager, and we're setting it to the special variable on the request level called underscore themeplate in the attributes parameter bag. And you can use this variable if you want to understand the current theme set in the request level. And we have layout listener, and layout listener is a place where layout execution or layout rendering is initiated and processed. Here we have on kernel view listener to the kernel view event of Symfony. We are checking here that we had not have the template because template and layout are technically conflicting each with other, and we are not allowing to have both of them together. And then we are collecting the context. And we are collecting the context, we are creating our layout, and we are simply rendering this layout later. So we have new response with the layout rendered here. Or there is another way how you can do it. You may use layout builder with the layout manager and pass the options, pass the context, pass the parameters, and again, simply generate response. You will not customize this place in your development, but you may put a breakpoint here in order to debug, in order to understand how layout is generated, what kind of context they passed, what kind of variables each page use, and so on. So just a convenient place to debug. Now let's move to the Symfony debug and see how to debug themes. And finally, we'll be able to see our structure of blocks in order to debug them. Let me open application. I will need it to open in the dev mode, of course. And here we may see the structure of all blocks on our page. So here is the structure. The structure is quite big, as you can see, because we have quite a lot of blocks on the home page, and we can see all the blocks we have seen before and all the blocks which were added to this page. So here we have, for example, title block, meta charts block, styles block, special icons block, scripts block. Then we have our body with the container, with the menu, with the logo. Here we may also find our new arrivals. So here we can see new arrivals, product container, new arrivals, product, new arrival, product box, product, and so on. And as you can see, all of them have that new arrival prefix, which is coming from the import. And this is how application is managing that on the block level. So you can see here, so all this tree, which currently prefixed with yellow, is the part of that new arrival template. And here we see the footer, we see the footer info, we see the footer menu. We also have some layout rendered in the very bottom. We have bottom sticky panel and so on. For each of the block here on the right side, we can see the possible options and possible configuration used there. For example, here we have a logo block. And first we can see the prefixes which you can use in the files, in the Twig files, in order to customize this block looks like. Again, this is very similar to the block names used by the form types. So it can be either parent underscore widget or specific block underscore widget or just underscore block. It means it's only a specific block only in this place. And here we also see all the variables which passed to our template, whether it's visible, what kind of translation domain is used, class, prefix, ID, cache key, whether it's hidden or not, render link, route, and we also have here some parameter. In our case, it's SRC, it's data asset, get URL, data theme, get logo context theme structure. And just in case, we can also see block prefixes. These are pretty much the same thing as we have seen here without the widget suffix. We may also see here not applied actions. This one is especially useful if you are debugging the page or adding your own layout updates. And if for some reason, for example, parent block does not exist, this action won't be applied and you will be able to see these not applied actions here. And finally, we can see the context. We can see the data, we can see the parameters, we can see the variables, and so here or there. For example, here we have is logged in context variable. We have checked during the training, and so you can see the value is false. We can see the page template is the default one. We can see whether it's debug mode or not debug mode. We can see the route name. In fact, it's a part of the context too, and so on. And finally, we can see where you have to put your file with layout updates in order to be applied on this page. So it has to be either resources views layouts default or front-end root, which is the current root, or page. It means that this layout update will be applied for all pages, not only for the root page. Next useful thing is called Twig Inspector, and Twig Inspector can be used in order to see the blocks and block structure on the HTML level. Let me demonstrate that. So if I open the element structure here and I will debug some element, first, here you will not see any additional information about the block, mostly because everything is disabled. However, in the system configuration, you may enable an option called debugging info. Let me show it where it's done. So here we have include block debug info into the HTML. And by doing that, application will automatically add a special parameters in, so you as a developer can understand what specific file is used to render some block. And for example, here we have the file called or web catalog layouts blank page menu HTML twig. It means that this file was used to render this specific block. And you may find it for every standard tag or every standard block all over the application. And we can obviously enable our Twig inspector. It's disabled by default. Let's wait a second. So now we can see the page is loaded, and now you can see the special text, the additional meta information rendered in this block, which tell us which specific block is rendered in which file in order to understand the block structure on the HTML level. So for example, here we can inspecting our logo, and we can see it's a part of the logo widget block, which rendered here. So here's additional information which you may use, and you may in fact set up PHP Storm in order to redirect directly to this link if you want to. So this is additional information which you as a developer can use to understand the block structure, understand how the structure built, understand what kind of and where each specific block is stored, and will simplify your life a lot, because this way you will know where to debug, where to put breakpoint, how to understand how data is passed, and so on and so on. And now a couple of the best practices about the layouts and theme usage. So we usually recommend to keep theme in the separate bundle and put there all the standard styles and all the elements. By standard styles and elements, I mean the elements which are available on every possible page, and the elements which can be reused all over the application. So these are styles, these are standard images, these are standard icons, and so on. If you have a separate bundle, for example, let's add new features and does not add a theme, it may refer to this theme, but it should not involve new styles or new visual elements. So responsibility, let's keep responsibility separate and use the separate bundle only for the theme and visual representation, and another bundle for the business logic and business features. Another thing, don't be afraid to make big blocks with big templates. So yes, you have seen a very, very complicated structure. Let me show you again. So yes, you have seen this huge block structure. In fact, so yeah, so here it is. But in many cases, it may not be needed. So this is an out-of-the-box structure. It's so big because OroCommerce is very flexible, and we are allowing to inject your custom block and custom filter custom information in every possible place and every possible block. But if you're doing customization and you do not need this kind of extendability and this kind of flexibility in your code, you may simply create a very big block with lots of HTML inside and put it there. Just make sure that it receives all the required information and all the options. Next thing about data providers. Data providers must not change the state of the application. They are read-only. It's not their purpose. That's why there was a remark there that they have to have only is, get, and this kind of other methods which do not change the data. If you need some business data inside the template and there is no easy way to pass, there is no easy way to get this information there, from the controller, you may create a new data provider and proxy appropriate calls of the appropriate service methods. Yes, it may be partial violation of MVC, but this is like a last solution, last resort. If you have no other ways to do it, you may do it like that. It's not really good from the architectural point of view, but it's do the trick. And that's all about the theory. Let's check the new questions in chat. What cache levels there are? There are full page cache and placeholders and varnish configuration. No, we have a cache on the layout structure level. So we are caching the structure of the block based on the content of the context. So application creates a hash or generates a cache based on the context values, not only because parameters and context values, and stores tree layout tree structure there. So it's not built from scratch every time. It's simply refreshed, extracted from cache every time you need the page. But the content, yes, content is extracted from database. We do not have any integration with varnish out of the box, and we don't have any placeholders. But if you want, you may use h-site includes. In fact, you may think about every block as an h-site include block or h-site include tag, and then you can use it together with varnish. Next question, can we add block visibility control to the Oro admin console? Like if the marketing team wants control display, hide the block on the page. Yes, you can do it. You may, for example, set an option in the system configuration. For example, it will be just checkbox, show some block or hide some block, and then refer to it in the appropriate layout block. Let me check, for example, I think we have something like that. We just need to find the name of the layout update responsible for that. So let me check data provider, system config provider, and let me check if we have something in the YAML files. Yeah, so here's the good example of such customization. We have adding a block and we have option visible, which visible when only if we have filter value selector in the system configuration set to all at once. Or for example, here we have enable options which passed directly from the system configuration and so on. So this system configuration provider is the standard layout data provider which allows you to get information from system configuration. So if you want to rely on some information system configuration, you may always use this config provider. However, if you do not like system configuration and you want to use some kind of other data source, feel free to implement data provider for it. Add method like is feature enabled and simply pass it as the value for the visible option, or you may even sometimes refer to it in the condition and the context, like here we have is logged in. In this case, you have to create your own context configurator and add appropriate value to the context. Again, the difference, which approach is better depends on whether this data affects structure of the blocks or not. If it affects the structure of the blocks, it has to be part of the context. If it does not affect the structure, it can be a data provider. Okay, and how these caches affect data and context. So they As I have already mentioned, the context is used to generate a hash for our cache, so basically the key for our cache, and data is extracted every time you're rendering a page. But if you want, you may use the standard data level cache and inject it with your layout data providers and use it instead of getting data every time from database. Okay, so if you have no other questions, let's check the example. Let's say there's some kind of small exercise and see how it can be done. So here we have a small practice session. If you want, you can practice it yourself without looking at the example, but here I'm going to tell you what you may want to do and then show you how to do it. So here's a small exercise. We need to add a small bundle called Training First Theme Bundle. We need to add a theme called First. So it's the name of the theme or key of the theme, extended from the default theme. We need to replace website logo, and optionally we may also replace favicon if you want to. You need to add new layout element that adds some text string under the logo. And then we may add a data provider to return current weather information. It can be even hard-coded, and add this weather information to homepage between the featured categories and the featured products. And finally, we need to add product ID block, the product role of the product data grid. Yeah, we need to put it directly under the SKU, and this is how it may look like. Now, first, let's have a look at the result, and then let's check step by step how to do that. I have a separate installation for that. Let me open this one. Training, OroCommerce, local, this one. Okay, so here we have application in dev mode, and we have already seen that we have a custom template, custom logo here. We have an additional hint under the logo as it was required. We have a special block called current weather is okay. And as you can see here in the listing, we see the new information about the IDs because we added it not only to the listings, but not only to the grids, but also to the listings. Let's have a look at the structure of the layout blocks. Okay, the list of blocks is loading. Yep, it's here. And let's start from the logo. So here we have our logo. And in our case, it's just standard logo without any additional change, but we'll see how it was important a little bit later. However, you can see here a new block called logo hint. And this is a actual customization we did here in order to add those small information to the logo. Let me show it again. This first logo hint thing. Then we have weather information. And here we have weather info block. And as you can see here, we're even using special data provider called training first theme weather, which calls method called get weather text. So this is how it was done on the structure level. And let's see the code. Pay attention that there is no special change for adding this ID information because it may not be even the block, it may be configuration of the layout template. Let's check. Just in case, here you have the repository. It's the same repository which was used for the platform training. You may find the appropriate branch here and see how to do it. And if you want, you can use it as a reference. So first, the bundle. It's pretty straightforward, just a bundle with a dependency injection. And this one is used only to load our service CML. Let's check step by step what has to be done and how it was done. So first, we need to add a new theme called first, extended from the default theme. Let's see. Theme is defined in the resources layouts directory. And as you can see here, we have directory called first. And inside it, we have a theme file Here we have theme YAML, and here we have definition for this theme. Pay attention that here we have a separate file for logo and separate file for icon. And if you define these options here, application will automatically get these files and use them. Pay attention that here we have special A logo, Acme logo on the header. So it's a fav icon. And here we have the Acme logo directly here in the template. Then the next requirements, we have to add new layout element that adds some text string under the logo. So this one, this customization is needed for all pages. It means that it has to be put into the page directory, and let us check it. So here we have logo YAML. We are setting block theme in order application to parse this file and apply the change from it. And we are adding new block called logo hint to the parent block called meterval logo. Sibling ID, it means it will be added after this block, and block type is just block because we do not need any additional options there. So let us have a look again into the structure of that page. This one. Here we have a middle-bar logo container, so it's a parent container or parent block. Here we added logo hint block, and we added after the logo block. So as you can see, we have added block called logo hint inside the middle bar logo container after the logo. This is exactly what we have defined here in this file. And now finally, let's check the logo HTML Twig. It's a very simple and straightforward file. It's just prefix for this specific widget, logo hint widget, and some information, just a plain HTML. If we will have a look at the configuration for this logo block hint, we will see this information here, logo hint widget, and this is exactly the name of the block we can see here. So this is how you can inject piece of the HTML into existing layout structure. Next, we need to add new data provider to return some current information about the weather. So as we have already checked, the layout data provider is just a standard PHP file registered in the dependency injection container. The recommended path for these files is layout data provider. So we are following this convention all over the application, and I would recommend for you to do the same. And here is our path, here is our structure, and it's a pretty straightforward, very simple class with one method called getWeatherText, which returns some value. And of course, in order to use them in layout updates, we have to register it in the service and dependency injection container. So here we have services YAML. And here we have registered using the tag called layout data provider, and training first theme weather is the alias for this block. Of course, you may check the configuration for this block using the OroDebug layout command line command. And we have defined the layout update. We have defined, we have created layout update class. We have defined in the services YAML what we are missing now. We are missing that's one block. Let me show it again. This is it. Pay attention that this block is added only to the home page, so it has to be stored inside the Oro frontend root, the route name, responsible for this page. Let us back to the layout structure. And here we have Oro frontend root directory, and here we have small file called weather.yaml. Here we are adding small block with a type text. ID of new block is weather info. Parent block, so the container which will contain this block called page content. Sibling ID, it means the block it will be rendered after called featured categories container. And here we have the option called text, which simply tells us to use our layout update, layout data provider in this layout update and render weather text. Let's try to find this block again in the configuration here. Here is our block. Here we can see information Here we can see all the options, and we can also see the option called text, which tells us that the value for this block has to be extracted from our data provider called training first theme weather. And that's it. Next option we have, next requirement we have, we need to add product ID block to the product row of the product data grid. So here is the tricky part. This is the part where we need to work with the imports, because when we are adding something, we are adding multiple items there, we are adding them via the import. Let us check how it's done. Again, we need to go to our directory section. And here we can see the imports directory, imports or product list item. Product list item, let me remind you, is the layout update responsible for rendering one list item in that listing. And here we have layout update itself. And here we are adding a new block called product ID, block type block. Inside the container called product specification, and after the block called product SKU. And here we can see that it's simply a very, very simple HTML without anything special. Just one more interesting thing, it's a product ID variable. It's a very standard variable which application uses in this block. And because this block is about another block, it can also reuse this variable. Let's try to find this block in the structure. Nope, not this one. We need to find the block called product ID. Yeah, so here we can see it. We have featured product ID, which added for the featured products block. We have new arrival product ID, which added for the new arrival import. And then we have top selling product ID, which was added for the top selling import. So just let me remind you that we have 3 listings: featured products, new arrivals, and top selling, and all of them have this ID added directly to these blocks. And that's all, guys. If you have some questions, feel free to post them to the chat. Let me check it. We have a question. How to disable caching for a block to making data from data object every page loading? As I have already mentioned, data is always extracted every time you're rendering the page. So it works like that by default. If you do not like that, you have to add some kind of decorator or additional wrapper to use the data level cache. But data level, data is not cached, only the data is not cached, only the context and the structure is cached, but it's cached only in prod mode. So every time you're changing something in prod mode, you have to refresh the cache. But if you're working in dev mode, you should not care about that. Application will scan your directories and your custom bundle. And if you're changing something, the changes will be applied immediately. Yes, it will regenerate the cache again, but still you will not need to need to call any command from command line in order to do that. Okay, guys, so looks like we have no more questions for now. In this case, thank you very much for today. Let me remind you that tomorrow we are going to have business topics about the products catalog and web catalogs. So feel free to invite your PO, BAs, marketing specialists, and other people from business department in order to listen what kind of features we have in Oro related to the products and catalogs. Thank you very much, guys. Have a good day and bye.